Okay, so welcome everybody to tonight's conference with Le Cercle de Langues. I am Chanel and I will be taking you through understanding corporate and social responsibility. This evening's conference is level B1 to B2, so that means it is a slightly advanced level of English. The conference for tonight will be 25 minutes, and we will have the last 5 minutes set aside for questions and answers. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to either put them in the chat or you can write them on a piece of paper and we will talk about it at the end of this conference. So tonight's conference has 4 parts. We will have an introduction to corporate and social responsibility. We will talk about environmental responsibility as the second topic. We will then talk about social responsibility. And then we are going to talk about economical and ethical responsibility. So from now on, we recommend you write down notes for you to use in your future conversations, because there might be something quite interesting that you can find. There might be something interesting that you can use, and you can have a look through the conference and see if there's anything that you would like to talk about in particular. So let's begin. So an introduction to tonight's topic. So let's have a look. What is CSR? Corporate Social Responsibility, CSR, refers to the concept and practice where businesses engage in initiatives and activities that benefit society. It involves a company's efforts to operate in an ethical and sustainable manner, taking into account its social, environmental, and economic impacts. CSR, it's about integrating ethical, social, and environmental considerations into one's business strategy. This integration can drive positive outcomes for the company, stakeholders, and society at large, making CSR an essential aspect of modern business practices. So, as you can see at the bottom of our presentation, we have the French translation. But to speak a bit about ethical, social, and environmental considerations, we know that we are talking about society, we are talking about community initiatives, we are speaking about the environment, so responsible and sustainable actions from a company, and ethical, we speak about actions that work for the betterment of others. So this is quite important. Let's have a look at the rest. What are some of the benefits of corporate social responsibility? Reputation and brand loyalty. So this means when we talk about reputation and brand loyalty, it means you have a good reputation in the community, and because of this, people are loyal to the brand. Customer engagement. We are constantly engaged with the customer because we would like to know how we can better impact our community. We attract and you retain talent. That means you are very loyal and you have a loyal you have loyal employees. That means they tend to stay with the company based off of the company's values and what the company stands for. Operational cost savings, risk management, marketing opportunities, community and social impact, and sustainable growth. So when we talk about our environmental responsibility, a key pillar of corporate social responsibility. This involves implementing sustainable practices, reducing carbon footprints, and conserving natural resources, and ensuring eco-friendly operations. Companies take on environmental responsibility to address global issues such as climate change, pollution, and resource depletion, contributing to a healthier planet. So let's look at sustainable resource use. Resource efficiency. Utilizing resources like water, energy, and raw materials more efficiently to minimize waste. Renewable energy. Investing in renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and hydroelectric power to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. And recycling and waste management. Implementing robust recycling programs and waste management systems to reduce landfill use and pollution. So these are key components of environmental responsibility. So that means, what is it that a company is taking into account when being concerned with the environment? When we think about the environment, it creates a better look for the company, because it shows that the company is thinking about community, social problems, as well as environmental problems. So when we think about these aspects, it really gives the company a good look, and it makes us realize that the environment is important, therefore it's a company worth following. Reducing emissions. Your carbon footprint reduction. Tracking and reducing greenhouse gas emissions through improved processes, energy efficiency, and carbon offset programs. Pollution control. Adopting technologies and practices that minimize air, water, and soil pollution. Biodiversity conservation. Protecting natural habitats. Ensuring company operations do not harm natural ecosystems, and supporting conservation projects. Sustainable sourcing. Sourcing raw materials in a manner that does not deplete natural resources or harm wildlife. A beautiful word to think about is to think about the word when we are conscious. We are environmentally conscious. We are conscious of society when we are conscious. So let's look at an exercise. If you were the president of a company, what kind of strategies would you consider to promote sustainability and environmental protection from a corporate perspective? So for those of you who would like to answer, please put your answers in the chat. What would you do as a company to promote sustainability and to protect the environment? So Raymond, you would save energy. Raymond, how would you save energy? Tell us a little bit about it. You would think about saving energy. Do you have any strategies that you would implement? What about everyone else? Please put your suggestions in the chat. So Raymond has said saving energy is the first thing he would do. What else do we have? So Vanessa says renewable energy. So with solar energy, so that is it's a great idea. If a company uses solar energy, it reduces the amount of nuclear energy that is used, therefore reducing our carbon footprint. Limit the trips in the office. Okay. The TP, ça veut dire quoi? What is that, Raymond? TP? So the time in the office, limit the time in the temperature. Excusez-moi, la température. Okay, limit the temperature in the office. It's a good idea. We just have to be careful that in winter, we really don't want the temperature to be too low. But it's a great idea. We can be energy conscious with what is the temperature, like climatisation, the climate, the system in the office. We think of that. Limiting the paper. Beautiful, Vanessa. So limiting the use of paper. We do things electronically. Margot says use recyclable paper. Beautiful. Pierre, to conduct a carbon footprint assessment of the company, identify the main sources of emissions and develop a reduction plan. Pierre, that is amazing. So exactly. So we figure out where is our biggest carbon footprint within the company, identify those sources and develop a reduction plan. Thank you. Denise, to turn the lights off. Dennis, absolutely. So thank you everyone for sharing these amazing ideas. But that is really our corporate social responsibility. How a company interacts with its community of people and the environment. Let's go on to the next part. Social responsibility. So we've already discussed the environment. We've spoken about what can we do. Now we need to look at social, because social is also very important. So when we talk about social responsibility, we have some vocabulary that is important to understand. We talk about fair labor practices, diversity and inclusion, human rights, ethical sourcing, transparency, our social impact, our corporate citizenship, our public relations, our workplace safety, and our wellness programs. So social responsibility within the framework of corporate social responsibility refers to the ethical obligation of companies to contribute positively to the well-being of society. This encompasses a broad range of activities focused on improving the quality of life for employees, communities, and society at large. So key components of social responsibility, we start with fair labor practices. So we start with employee rights. As a company, it is important to ensure fair wages, safe working conditions, and respect for workers' rights. We need to put non-discrimination as part of that plan, where we promote diversity and inclusion by preventing discrimination based on race, gender, age, religion, or disability. Another important topic is work-life balance. Implementing policies that support a healthy work-life balance, such as flexible working hours and family leave. So leave we understand as congé. Education and development. As a company, a social responsibility should be training programs, offering professional development and training opportunities for employees to enhance their skills and career prospects. Scholarships and grants, providing educational scholarships or grants to support the education of employees, children, and underprivileged students. When we look at health and safety, we need to think about workplace safety. So implementing rigorous health and safety standards to protect employees from workplace hazards. And wellness programs, offering health and wellness programs to promote physical and mental well-being among employees. So what can we talk about with wellness programs? So for example, certain companies will offer to pay a certain amount for people who would like to go to gym or to do an extra activity outside of work, for example, a yoga studio. But we could also implement wellness programs for small owned businesses, such as someone who operates a small family gym, a yoga studio, a judo studio, small, we could say, self-owned businesses, and this helps promote that community connection as well. So then we move on to human rights. We talk about ethical supply chain, ensuring that suppliers and partners adhere to human rights standards, including the prohibition of child labor and forced labor. Advocacy, advocating for human rights and supporting initiatives aimed at improving human rights conditions globally. So let's do an activity. What do training programs provide? What do you think? Do they provide safety? Do they provide development, or do they provide wellness? Please put your answers in the chat and we will have a look. So Vanessa says B, development. Margot says development. So everyone agrees that it is development. Let's look at number 2. What do scholarships and grants support? Diversity, education, or safety? Wonderful. So far everyone has chosen B for both answers. Let's have a look. And then the final one, excuse me. What does workplace safety focus on? Training, wellness, hazards, or balance? Before we look at the answers, what does workplace safety focus on? Okay, so we've got wellness. So most of us, for all our answers, we have said number B. Let's have a look. So what do training programs provide? Safety. They're actually safety, development, wellness. It is B, development. What do scholarships and grants provide? Diversity, education. Safety, education. And last, what does workplace safety focus on? So it focuses on hazards. So what does that mean? And why not wellness? Because wellness is not linked to safety. Wellness is linked to well-being, bien-être. Hazards, those are linked to safety. So they are slightly different things. Wellness is more bien-être. Okay? Economic and ethical responsibility. Economic responsibility in this context refers to a company's duty to achieve financial performance while also contributing to economic well-being of society. This involves conducting business in a way that promotes sustainable economic growth, it supports local economies, and ensures long-term financial health without compromising ethical standards. We look at things like sustainable business practices, so long-term financial planning, implementing strategies that ensure long-term profitability and financial stability, or innovation and investment, investing in research and development to drive innovation and improve products and services, and then resource efficiency, So maximizing the efficient use of resources to reduce costs and waste. Fair trade practices. So for example, ethical sourcing, procuring materials and services in a manner that is ethical and sustainable. Fair pricing, setting fair prices for products and services that reflect their true value and promote economic fairness. And then supply chain responsibility, which is to ensure that all parts of the supply chain adhere to ethical and sustainable practices. When we look at economic inclusion, we talk about job creation, creating jobs and providing fair employment opportunities. Employee development, investing in employee training and development to enhance skills and career prospects. And then inclusive growth, promoting policies and practices that support economic inclusion and reduce inequality. We want to look now at transparency and accountability. Financial disclosure, maintaining transparent financial records and openly communicating financial performance to stakeholders. Corporate governance, adopting strong governance practices to ensure ethical decision-making and accountability. And then risk management, identifying and managing financial risks to protect the company and its stakeholders. So let's try again. What does financial disclosure mean? Does it talk about wages, transparency, or governance? What do you think? So when we're talking about financial governance, we've got B. It talks about transparency. Let's look at number 2. What does supply chain responsibility involve? Does it talk about risks, pricing, or ethics? What do you think? A, B, or C? Okay, so we've got Margot that's responding. So most of us have said B. Raymond has said C, ethics. Okay, interesting. Let's see if we have number 3. Okay, what does financial disclosure mean? It speaks about transparency. And correct, Vanessa, Nadej, Raymond, what does supply chain responsibility involve? It involves ethics. So that's something we need to be aware of. In conclusion, corporate social responsibility strengthens a company's reputation, it fosters customer loyalty, and it boosts employee engagement. By addressing social and environmental challenges, CSR or corporate social responsibility supports sustainable growth and creates positive impacts, making it essential for long-term business success. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining me for this evening's conference. Do you have any questions or comments to make on this evening's conference? You may now unmute your microphones if you have anything to share. No? It was all good? Very interesting. My pleasure, Dennis. So the most important thing to know is that the presentation will be sent to you via email after tonight's conference. So you can have a look at the vocabulary, have a look at some of the points, and if you find any of the points interesting, you can use that in your future conversations. So thank you everyone for joining me this evening, and I will see you all next week. Have a beautiful weekend. Goodbye everyone.